iPhone 12 Pro Max versus Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra in-depth comparison of photo and video capabilities. Let's go. What's good guys, my name is Oleg Nikitin and you're watching No Limits On channel. So today we have a flagship from Apple, iPhone 12 Pro Max, and a flagship from Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra. So let's get started. Let's start off with the cameras. What cameras are inside and what are the focal ranges, the f-stops and all that stuff. So we'll start with the ultra-wide camera. Both phones have 13mm ultra-wide. The iPhone has f2.4 and the Samsung has f2.2, both 12 megapixel. Then we have the main camera module. On the iPhone it's 12 megapixel, 26mm. The size of the sensor is 1/2 of an inch, which is pretty big for a smartphone, and the f-stop of 1.6 with optical stabilization. And in Samsung we have 108 megapixels main camera, 24mm equivalent with f1.8 aperture and optical image stabilization. Then we have the telephoto camera. On the iPhone we have 65mm with f2.2, 12 megapixel, and in the Samsung we have the telephoto 72mm, 10 megapixel, f2.4 with optical stabilization camera. And also Samsung has 10x zoom, which is 240mm, 10 megapixel, f4.9 optical image stabilized lens. And the selfie cameras, 12 megapixel, 24mm on the iPhone and 40 megapixel, 25mm on the Samsung. Here is a list of numbers so you can check once again right here. We'll start off with the photo capabilities: ultra-wide, wide telephoto lenses, super telephoto lens, and so on. And then we'll go back to video. You can also check the chapters of the video if you're interested in something in particular. And my neighbors are drilling the walls, of course. Let's start off with the ultra-wide lenses. As far as I can see, the iPhone is a little bit sharper, but Samsung has more digital sharpness. I don't like it a lot, so there is an edge for iPhone. Here are the examples and you can see the difference by yourself with a lot of zooming in, guys. The main camera is a little sharper on the iPhone when you use the regular mode, not 108 megapixels on the Samsung, but when you switch to 108 megapixel mode, it's much sharper and more detailed on the Samsung, so there is a slight edge to the Samsung. You with much more contrasty and more saturated pictures, and it's a little over sharpened digitally. iPhone provides you with lower contrast photos, a little more cool. I mean, the white balance is a little cooler towards cold colors, and if you lower the exposure while shooting, it will provide you with better contrast, of course, or you can digitally in post lower the contrast and you'll get better results. Overall dynamic range is very close. I can give a slight edge to iPhone, maybe half of a stop. And in terms of noise, iPhone is performing a little better, but those two smartphones are very close to each other. It's a pretty close comparison, guys. In terms of Lowlight, they're once again very close, but iPhone has its weakness because when you see the light in the shot, it reflects a lot and kind of flares, and Samsung has much less of those artifacts. Also, when you use the telephoto mode, X3 on the Samsung and 2.5 on the iPhone, we get a little better dynamic range in the Samsung and overall a little better quality in terms of photos in night mode. So my conclusion comes to your preferences. If you like Android smartphones, go for Samsung. If you like iOS, go for iPhone. And some cases are better in Samsung, some cases are better a little bit in the iPhone, so it all comes to your personal preference, and that's it. Also, I've compared those two smartphones with Nikon D780 with 24-70 f2.8 lens. That's a full-frame professional photo camera, and you can see it's somewhere on my channel next week probably, or here or in the description, and you'll see that the results are very close. In some cases, of course, the camera wins, but for Instagram, for instance, they are very close, and you can totally use those smartphones to get outstanding pictures in your Insta. And now we go to the video. I'm as a videographer with 10 years of experience. I'm very interested in those comparisons because I want to know how close the phones and the smartphones are now for the cameras, to the cameras actually. And yeah, here are the results. My overall observations in terms of video. The Samsung is much more digitally sharpened. Actually, I have a review and comparison of Sony a7S III, which is shooting me right now, with the iPhone 12 Pro Max. You can check this here or in the description. And the iPhone is already very digitally sharpened, and the Samsung gets a little over sharpened in total. So that's the first minus for Samsung, then a little lower dynamic range. And for some reason, Samsung records one black frame in the beginning of each video file, and I had to cut this file, I mean the frame, the first one, the black one, and it really annoys me. I hope they will fix it with some future update in firmware. And the Samsung is more noisy, just a little bit, but still you can see the noise even if you shoot something very bright during sunlight. My biggest disappointment with Samsung is 4K 60. It's just gross, guys. Look at this picture, look at my nose, how over sharpened every part of my nose is, and I just hate this 4K 60. It looks like 720p and over sharpened in post, like totally over sharpened in post. Also, you get only the main camera module in 4K 60. You cannot use your ultra wide, your tele photo lens, and you don't have extra stabilization in 4K 60, only in 1080p. So it's just so disappointing, guys. And look at the iPhone 60p footage. You can shoot in 60p with your ultra wide, with your telephoto, with your main camera, and the picture is looking very nice and detailed and not over sharpened like Samsung does. And the quality of 4K 60 in the iPhone is almost identical to 4K 30 on the iPhone, which is nice. And now the stabilization. Of course, the stabilization is better at all cameras, at ultra-wide, main camera and telephoto camera on the iPhone. No doubt. Even though the Samsung has some optical image stabilization in the cameras where iPhone seems to not have it, but the results are obvious. Samsung is worse in stabilization. Also, Samsung has the super smooth mode, which is some, digital plus maybe regular stabilization, but still it's only in 1080p, and 1080p is not usable in my opinion. It's very soft and over sharpened once again. So the point goes to iPhone for stabilization. When I was running, it seemed like I was using the gimbal on the iPhone on the ultra-wide camera, and the shakiness of the footage of the Samsung is just so obvious, and I vote for iPhone in terms of stabilization for sure. In terms of sound, they sound very close. The richness, the loudness, the wind noise and all that stuff, it's very, very close, and it's just up to your preference and to your work with equalization in post, for instance. But when you go to professional video mode in Samsung, you can choose the mode in your microphone. You can change from omnidirectional, both sides, then front direction, which is your voice, like selfie mode, or rear, so everything which is behind the camera, which is nice. It does work, it does make a difference, as you can hear probably. And of course it's a little better to have this feature right here built in than not to have it in the iPhone, so a slight edge to Samsung. So guys, now it's the test of our selfie cameras on the iPhone 12 Pro Max here and on the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra here. So it's a pretty tough scenario. I'm going from the sun to the shade and all that stuff. Yeah. So how do you like the cameras? Which is sharper? Which is better in terms of sound? So tell me in the comments. And now guys, the ultra wide cameras for vlogging. Checking out the sound, checking out the whiteness, and checking out the color, the dynamic range, and the stability of both. And now the main camera angle, 1x. So let's check the field of view, the colors, the stabilization, and so on. So I'm going down from the hill. How do you like the footage, guys? I hope I hold the phones as stable as I can in both hands. Yeah. And now 4K 60 on the Samsung Galaxy and on the iPhone. As you can see, it's now less sharp on the Samsung, and I can use only the main camera. The others are not available for 4K 60, and the quality is not the best one. I like the iPhone's quality a lot more, and here is the plus for the iPhone. Let's continue, guys. In terms of slow motion, I do like and prefer the iPhone's footage because Samsung looks like it's a 720p with a lot of sharpness in it, and the overall image quality and the noise ratio is worse on the Samsung. In terms of low-light video shooting, I do prefer the iPhone's footage because look at the Samsung footage. It's much more noisy and you see a lot of noise reduction going on, and kind of a total mess and kind of a porridge from the pixels that are noisy and blurred out by the Samsung. So a point for iPhone. In terms of hyperlapses and time-lapses, 4K on the Samsung and 1080p on the iPhone. But look at those two time-lapses and you can see that the quality is very, very close to each other, and you can basically say that they are kind of identical. And also Samsung has 8K. Wow. But it's all about the marketing, guys, because look at those two shots. First of all, the 8K crops in a little bit from the main camera in the Samsung. Look at those blurriness and look at those noisy parts of the image. So 4K 30 is much better on the iPhone than 8K 24 on the Samsung, no doubt. Just look at this. I'm speechless. Marketing, marketing! And I really enjoyed one function which is called Director's View. As you can see, we can flip those cameras out, and when you tap this thing, you can see your ultra wide, your wide and your tele camera, and record simultaneously the front camera and the rear camera. And you can move somewhere like this yourself on the screen. It's a great feature when you want to shoot something and yourself all together with one camera, for example for vlogging or all that stuff. So nice feature, I really enjoyed it. This is the movie mode. I don't think it's about the movie, but you can change the focal length right here,
and you can move yourself on the screen. Cool feature.
On the iPhone, you can get this feature in the app. I forgot the name, probably I'll write it down right here. But it's a paid app as far as I remember, and it's cool that the Samsung has it built in. And now let's talk about the app. The built-in camera app in the iPhone is very simple and it has not a lot of functions, but in the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra, it's a pretty complex and huge app. So here we have the More function, and here we have your augmented reality zone, your doodle augmented reality, you know, face masks and all that. You have your professional mode for photos, your panorama mode, food mode for your Instagram, you know, food shots, night mode, portrait mode, even portrait video mode, which blurs the background behind you. I think, you know, it's a pretty lame thing to have, but for Insta stories, maybe it's okay. I don't really like it and do not enjoy it because it's working kind of, you know, so-so. Super slow motion, 240 frames per second, regular slow motion, 120 frames per second, your hyperlapse, your director's view, which I've showed you, both shooting from the front and the rear cameras, and of course the Pro Video mode, where you can change your microphone direction, you can also change your ISO, shutter speed, your manual focus and autofocus, and where you manually focus in, it shows you the focus picking, it's built in, which is cool. Also your white balance, and the picture profile is off, of course, and your zoom function. And of course you have some skin softening built in and all that, but I'm not sure that anyone uses it in the built-in app. I'm sure that everyone uses it in the Instagram or somewhere else, so it does exist here, but I don't see a reason to use it built in. It is what it is, it's okay, it's in there. A lot of stuff that I don't need, but probably someone can use it, who knows. But overall, a great app in the Samsung. So in terms of video, of course, iPhone is still the king in terms of mobile videography, but it doesn't compare to the big cameras. So just, it's a good video device, let me say. Samsung, only 4K 30. The only mode which is okay is 4K 30 and in good lighting conditions. So guys, my conclusion, it all comes to personal preferences in terms of picture quality, in terms of photos. The Samsung is for Android and the iPhone is for iOS, so it's just your personal preferences. They cost kind of close to each other. The Samsung is a little cheaper, but if you want to shoot a lot of video, especially in 4K 60, definitely choose the iPhone. So guys, tell me please in the comments what do you think about those two phones, which is better, which phone won, maybe you have a different opinion after my comparison, and watch it on a good screen and closely. I've made 600% or 300% crops for you to understand all the nuances and differences. And if you did enjoy the content on my channel, please smash the like and subscribe buttons as I say in my videos, and hit the notifications bell, of course, to be notified when I post my next video, and probably it will be a comparison. So, thank you very much for watching. My name is Oleg Nikitin, No Limits on channel. See you in the next video, guys. Take care. Bye.